Trash belongs in the dumpster, not first class. Brenda Collins didn't stop at words. She grabbed Ella's designer bag and hurled it to the floor. The zipper burst open. Ella's MacBook Pro cracked against the concrete. Her documents scattered like confetti across filthy tiles. Ella stumbled backward, her hoodie catching on a metal barrier. 22 years old, dressed in faded jeans, she looked helpless as gate passengers whipped out phones. The camera flashes started immediately. Brenda planted herself between Ella and the first-class boarding line, arms crossed like a bouncer. Her name badge gleamed under harsh terminal lights. Gate manager, 15 years service. The crowd thickened. Whispers spread. Ella's hands trembled as she knelt to gather her belongings from strangers' feet. Have you ever been judged so harshly that strangers assumed you were a criminal just because of how you looked? Brenda's voice boomed across Gate 42, ensuring every passenger within 50 feet could hear her verdict. Young lady, I need proof you purchased this ticket legally. Corporate policy requires additional verification for passengers like you. She drew out those last 3 words like a prosecutor delivering evidence. Her body language screamed authority, arms locked across her chest, feet planted wide. She positioned herself directly in Ella's path to first-class boarding, creating a human barricade that forced other passengers to navigate around the spectacle. The departure board overhead flickered ominously. Flight 847 to Los Angeles. Final boarding 10 minutes. Ella rose slowly from collecting her scattered belongings, her worn leather portfolio clutched against her chest. The gold embossing caught the light briefly. Most passengers didn't notice the elegant script, but a few business travelers squinted at the unfamiliar logo. My name is Ella Carter, she said quietly, pronouncing each syllable clearly. Not Ella, as you keep saying. Brenda's smirk widened. Don't get an attitude with me, Miss Carter. I've been managing this gate for 15 years. I know suspicious behavior when I see it. 30 feet away, passenger Sophie Miller fumbled with her phone, opening Facebook Live. Y'all are not going to believe the discrimination happening at JFK right now, she whispered into the camera. The viewer count started at 0, then climbed 12, 23, 47 viewers. Comments began flooding the stream. What airline is this? Get their badge numbers. Someone called corporate. Ella pulled out her boarding pass, hands steady despite the growing crowd. Brenda snatched it, examining it like a forensic expert hunting for forgeries. First class, huh? That's convenient. Brenda waved the pass theatrically. Let me see the credit card you used to purchase this ticket. That's not standard protocol, Ella replied, her voice never rising above conversational level. She opened her wallet carefully, revealing a glimpse of platinum plastic and something else. A small family photo tucked behind her ID. The image showed Ella smiling beside an elegant black woman in a sharp business suit, but Brenda was too focused on the credit card to notice. 8 minutes left. Chase Sapphire Reserve. Brenda held the card up to the light as if checking for counterfeits. Interesting choice for someone your age. How exactly does a college student afford a $550 annual fee? Ella's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. She glanced at her watch, sleek, expensive, clearly not a knockoff, and muttered something under her breath. Excuse me? Brenda leaned closer, sensing weakness. I said my mother's flight should be landing soon. Ella's tone remained measured, professional. She'll be interested to hear about Skylark Air customer service standards. Brenda laughed, a harsh sound that carried across the gate area. Oh, so now mommy's going to come save you? What's she going to do? Complain to the corporate? The irony hung in the air, invisible to everyone except Ella. Sophie's live stream had grown to 312 viewers. The comments were getting heated. This is disgusting. Sue them. Ash Airport discrimination. She's handling this better than I would. But some voices supported Brenda. She's just doing her job. Security protocols exist for a reason. Ella methodically photographed Brenda's badge with her phone, capturing the name and employee number. Then she opened her voice recorder app. For the record, I'm documenting this interaction. Miss Collins, could you state your full name and position for my report? Your report? Brenda's eyebrows shot up. Who exactly are you planning to report to? I am the authority here. 6 minutes left. Security Officer Mark Davies approached, his radio crackling with distant chatter. His hand rested casually on his belt, a subtle threat that didn't go unnoticed by the growing crowd of spectators. "Problem here, Brenda?" His tone suggested this wasn't his first time backing up her authority. "Just a passenger who thinks rules don't apply to her," Brenda replied, gesturing dismissively at Ella. "Claims she has a first-class ticket, but something doesn't add up." Ella looked directly at the security officer. "I'd like the contact number for Skylark Air corporate customer service, please, and your name and badge number for my documentation." Davies hesitated, clearly uncomfortable with being recorded. Ella's phone was still capturing everything, and Sophie's live stream now had nearly 500 viewers watching the confrontation unfold in real time. Ella's portfolio slipped slightly, revealing a corner of what looked like official documentation letterhead, visible for just a moment before she adjusted her grip. Nobody caught the significance except one sharpied business traveler who did a double take. The gate area buzzed with tension. Passengers checked their own phones, some joining Sophie's live stream, others texting friends about the drama. The story was already beginning to spread beyond the physical space of Terminal 3. Ella checked her watch again, a small smile ghosting across her lips. "Keep recording," she told Sophie quietly. "This is about to get very interesting." 8 minutes left. Assistant Manager Paula Reed emerged from the back office like a shark smelling blood in the water. Her polyester blazer and plastic smile screamed middle management desperation. "What seems to be the issue here?" Paula's voice carried the practiced tone of someone who'd attended every corporate de-escalation seminar, but learned nothing about actual human decency. Brenda straightened, energized by backup. "Suspicious passenger. Paula claims she belongs in first class, but look at her." She gestured at Ella's hoodie and jeans like presenting evidence in court. "Something's not right." The digital countdown mocked them all. Flight 847. Boarding closes 7 minutes. Sophie's Facebook Live exploded with activity. Viewer count 312,445,623. Comments streamed faster than she could read. "This is insane. Get their names." Someone tagged the airline. "Nash JFK discrimination trending on Twitter." But the support wasn't universal. "Maybe she is suspicious. They're just doing their jobs. Why doesn't she just cooperate?" Ella pulled out her phone, scrolling to a contact marked Simply Security, and hit the dial. She spoke quietly, professionally. "Hi, this is Ella. I need you to review footage from Terminal 3, Gate 42 for the last 15 minutes. "Yes, I'll hold on." Brenda's eyes narrowed. "Who are you calling? You can't just documenting everything." Ella interrupted calmly. "Standard protocol when filing discrimination complaints." 6 minutes left. The crowd thickened like gathering storm clouds. Business travelers checked their watches impatiently. Families with children pressed closer, sensing drama. 3 teenagers held up phones, turning the humiliation into content for their social feeds. Security Officer Davies shifted nervously, his radio crackling with distant chatter about passenger situations and potential delays. His supervisor's voice cut through the static. "Handle it quickly. We've got senators flying out of Terminal 2. Paula Reed stepped forward, her smile stretching wider and more artificial. "Miss Carter, was it? We just need to verify your ticket purchase. Surely you understand we have security protocols for passengers like me." Ella's voice remained level, but her eyes hardened. "Please clarify what you mean by that." The question hung in the air like a challenge. Paula's smile flickered. Announcement echoes through terminal. Skylark Air Flight 203 from Atlanta has arrived at Gate 15. Ella checked her expensive watch again. A Cartier that cost more than Brenda's monthly salary, though nobody seemed to notice the luxury hiding in plain sight. That small smile returned to her lips. "Perfect timing," she murmured. 5 minutes left. Brenda grabbed the gate microphone with theatrical authority. Her voice boomed across the entire boarding area. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a passenger situation requiring additional security screening. Flight 847 boarding will be delayed while we resolve safety concerns." The announcement hit like a bomb. Passengers groaned. Business travelers started making angry phone calls. Parents with cranky toddlers shot daggers at Ella, the presumed cause of their misery. Sophie's live stream viewer count exploded. 1,247 watching live. The comments section became a war zone. Sue them all. This is America in 2024. Boycott Skylark Air. She brought this on herself. Where is the manager? A flight attendant appeared. Confusion written across her face. Brenda, what's the holdup? We need to close the door. Security situation, Brenda announced importantly. This passenger needs additional screening before we can allow boarding. Ella stood in the eye of the hurricane, surrounded by hostile faces and pointing cameras. She appeared completely isolated, a young woman in casual clothes facing down the entire airline authority structure, but she wasn't panicking. If anything, she seemed to be waiting for something. 4 minutes left. Davies moved closer, hand hovering near his restraints. Miss, we need you to come with us for secondary screening. Company policy. Whose company? Ella asked quietly. The question seemed odd, almost nonsensical. Davies frowned. Paula Reed's smile faltered completely. Even Brenda looked momentarily confused by the strange response. Ella's phone buzzed with a text message. She glanced at it and that mysterious smile grew wider. Actually, she said, tucking her phone away. I think we should wait just a moment longer. There's someone who should witness this conversation. 3 minutes left. The boarding area fell into a strange electric silence. Something in Ella's tone had shifted. Not louder, not angrier, but somehow more confident, more certain. Brenda sensed the change and didn't like it. We don't have time for games, little girl. Security is removing you from this gate area right now. I wouldn't do that if I were you, Ella said softly. The words carried an authority that seemed impossible from someone who'd just been humiliated in front of hundreds of people. Paula Reed took an unconscious step backward. Davies's hand dropped from his belt. Sophie zoomed her camera closer, sensing something big was about to happen. Her viewers felt it too. The comment stream paused as 1,500 people held their collective breath. The sound of confident heels clicking against terminal tiles echoed from the corridor. Sharp, purposeful steps that seemed to cut through the chaos like a sword. Ella straightened her shoulders. The helpless victim was disappearing, replaced by someone else entirely. That would be my ride, she said quietly, no longer looking at Brenda, but passed her toward the approaching sound. The clicking grew louder, closer. 2 minutes left. Brenda turned toward the sound, irritation flashing across her face. Now what? If this is some kind of... She stopped mid-sentence. Her face went white. The entire gate area seemed to hold its breath as a figure emerged from the corridor, and Ella Carter's impossible calm finally made perfect sense. Ella opened her worn leather portfolio with deliberate precision. The crowd pressed closer, phones recording every movement. Inside the weathered folder lay credentials that would shatter everything Brenda Collins thought she knew about power. She removed a single business card, thick, expensive card stock with embossed lettering, and placed it silently in Brenda's trembling hand. The card read, Ella Carter, Chief Operating Officer, Skylark Air Group. Time seemed to freeze. Brenda's face drained of all color, her confident smirk dissolving into shock. Security Officer Davies's hand dropped from his radio like dead weight. Assistant Manager Paula Reed's plastic smile cracked completely. Sophie's Facebook Live erupted in chaos. Viewer count spiked past 2,000 as comments exploded. Holy plot twist of the century. She's the coup. Brenda is so fired. Oh my God. Oh my God. Miss Collins, Ella said quietly, her voice carrying new authority. I believe you requested additional verification. Here's mine. She produced her corporate ID badge, the one that had been hidden beneath her hoodie all along. The Skylark Air logo gleamed under the harsh terminal lights along with her title and security clearance level that granted her access to every gate, every flight, every employee record in the company. Brenda stared at the credentials like they were written in a foreign language. This can't be. Ella reached into her portfolio again, pulling out an executive travel authorization and a board meeting agenda stamped with Monday's date. Each document bore the official company seal and her signature approval. I'm traveling to our Los Angeles headquarters for quarterly board meetings. Ella explained, her tone shifting from defensive to professional. I dress comfortably for long flights. My mother, CEO Victoria Carter, expects my arrival report by midnight. The name hit the crowd like lightning. Business travelers whipped out phones frantically Googling. Victoria Carter's face appeared on screen after screen. Forbes covers, Wall Street Journal profiles, aviation industry magazines, one of the most powerful women in American business. Brenda's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. She looked like a fish gasping for air. Your mother is... Brenda's voice came out as a strangled whisper. The CO, Ella confirmed. She should be arriving from her Atlanta board meetings right about now. Would you like to explain your customer service philosophy directly to her? The approaching footsteps grew louder, sharp, confident heels that commanded attention. The crowd began turning toward the sound, sensing something monumental approaching. Ella's transformation was complete. Gone was the helpless young woman in casual clothes. In her place stood a corporate executive who'd been conducting an unintentional audit of her own company's discrimination practices. Security's immediate panic. Davies stepped forward, his demeanor completely changed. Ma'am, we didn't know. Is there anything we can do to assist you? Ella's eyes never left Brenda's face. Yes, I need the security footage from the last 20 minutes and incident reports from everyone involved in this interaction. Paula Reed tried to salvage the situation, her voice cracking with false cheerfulness. Miss Carter, surely we can work this out internally. No need for reports, or there's every need. Ella interrupted smoothly. This incident was live-streamed to over 2,000 viewers and documented by multiple passengers. Skylark Air response will be public whether we want it to be or not. The live stream explosion. Sophie's stream had become a phenomenon. Viewer count 2,847 and climbing rapidly. Major news outlets were already reaching out through the comments. CNN here. Can we interview you? TMZ wants to license this footage. Fox News requesting comment. CEO Mom and Halish Skylark discrimination were trending nationally. Other passengers in the terminal had joined the stream, creating a multi-angle documentation of the unfolding corporate crisis. Ella's strategic revelation. Ms. Collins, Ella continued, her voice carrying the authority of someone accustomed to boardroom negotiations. What you experienced tonight was actually quite educational. You see, I've been reviewing customer complaints about discrimination in our system. Your name appears in 14 separate incidents over the past 18 months. Brenda's face somehow went even wider. Those complaints were 8 of them specifically involved passengers of color. The legal department estimates our liability exposure at $2.3 million in potential settlements. Ella's tone remained conversational, but each fact landed like a hammer blow. The approaching footsteps were almost upon them now. Ella glanced toward the corridor with anticipation rather than anxiety. The moment before impact. I suggest you prepare your explanation, Ella told Brenda quietly. My mother doesn't appreciate being kept waiting, and she especially doesn't appreciate employees who make her company look bad on social media. Brenda followed Ella's gaze toward the sound of approaching authority. Her entire body began to shake as the reality of her situation crystallized. She hadn't just discriminated against a random passenger. She'd humiliated the COO of her own company, broadcast it to thousands of viewers, and was about to face the CEO personally. The crowd's realization word spread through the gate area like wildfire. Passengers pulled up Victoria Carter's Wikipedia page on their phones, sharing images and net worth calculations. Business travelers who'd initially supported Brenda's security protocols now desperately deleted their social media comments, supporting the discrimination. The teenagers who'd been filming for entertainment suddenly realized they were documenting corporate history in the making. Their casual TikToks had become evidence in what would surely be a major discrimination case. Ella's final setup. One more thing, Miss Collins, Ella said, checking her Cartier watch again. This wasn't entirely accidental. We've received 17 complaints about discrimination at this specific gate over the past 6 months. I was conducting an informal assessment of our customer service standards. The implication hit like a freight train. This hadn't been random. It was corporate oversight that had exposed systemic problems. So, in a way, Ella continued with devastating calm, you've been extremely helpful. You've provided a perfect case study in exactly the behavior we're working to eliminate from Skylark Airlines. The sound of heels stopped just outside the gate area. A figure appeared in the corridor, tall, commanding, unmistakably powerful, even from a distance. Ella straightened her shoulders one final time. Monsieur. Victoria Carter entered Gate 42 like a force of nature sweeping through a boardroom full of incompetent executives. At 52, she commanded attention without demanding it. Her tailored navy Armani suit fit perfectly across her athletic frame, each line crafted to project authority. Diamond earrings caught the harsh terminal lights, sparking like warnings. Her stride spoke of boardrooms conquered, billion-dollar decisions made before breakfast, and competitors crushed with elegant precision. 3 executives flanked her. 2 men in expensive suits carrying leather portfolios and a woman with a tablet already open to what looked like legal documents. Behind them, 2 corporate security personnel swept the area with professional eyes, noting exits, camera angles, and potential threats to their CEO's reputation. The crowd recognized her immediately. Phones emerged like paparazzi cameras as passengers snapped photos of one of America's most powerful CEOs walking directly into their viral discrimination drama. Business travelers who'd been complaining about delays suddenly straightened their ties, hoping for LinkedIn-worthy selfies. The mother otter dynamic. Ella, darling, Victoria's voice carried across the sudden silence, warm honey laced with steel. I received your message during my Atlanta meetings. I see we have developed quite a situation here. Ella stepped forward, her transformation from victim to executive now complete in her mother's commanding presence. The helpless young woman in the hoodie had vanished entirely, replaced by a corporate leader who'd inherited both her mother's intelligence and her ruthless business instincts. Mom, I'd like you to meet Miss Brenda Collins, our Terminal 3 gate manager with 15 years of service. Ella's tone carried surgical irony. She's been providing me with an extremely thorough demonstration of our current customer service protocols. The subtle emphasis on current wasn't lost on anyone paying attention. Changes were coming, and Brenda had just volunteered herself as the catalyst. Victoria's laser focus shifted to Brenda, who stood frozen like prey, caught in a predator's gaze. The gate manager's earlier confidence had evaporated completely, replaced by the dawning horror of someone who just realized they'd attacked a shark's cub in front of the entire ocean. Miss Collins. Victoria's voice could have cut glass. I'm Victoria Carter, Chief Executive Officer of Skylark Air. I understand you've been assisting my daughter with her travel arrangements tonight. Brenda's mouth opened and closed soundlessly. The business card she'd been clutching, Ella's COO credentials, fluttered to the floor like a dying leaf, landing among the scattered contents of the bag she'd so violently dumped 20 minutes earlier. The corporate investigation unfolds. Victoria's chief legal advisor stepped forward, tablet glowing with prepared data. Ma'am, we've completed the preliminary review you requested during your flight from Atlanta. Victoria nodded without breaking eye contact with Brenda. Her gaze was surgical, dissecting every micro-expression of guilt and panic crossing the gate manager's face. Please share our findings with everyone present, Victoria commanded. Transparency is crucial when addressing systematic failures in our organization. The advisor's voice carried across the gate area, clearly audible to Sophie's live stream and its growing audience of 3,247 viewers. Miss Brenda Collins, employee identification number 710734, has been involved in 14 documented customer service incidents over the past 18 months. Murmurs rippled through the crowd like wind through wheat. Passengers began recording on multiple phones, creating a surreal forest of cameras documenting Victoria's corporate response in real time. 8 of these incidents, the advisor continued with devastating precision, specifically involved discrimination complaints filed by passengers of color. 3 resulted in formal legal challenges. Our risk assessment department estimates potential liability exposure at $2.3 million in pending settlements. Brenda's face had gone from pale to gray. She looked like she might vomit. This evening's incident, the advisor concluded, live streamed to thousands of viewers and documented by multiple witnesses, represents significant additional reputational damage to Skylark Air brand equity. Yet the CEO's professional fury, Victoria stepped closer to Brenda, her heels clicking against the terminal floor like a countdown timer. Each step seemed to diminish Brenda's authority further. Ms. Collins, in my 23 years building this airline from a small regional carrier into an $8.7 billion international company, I have never, and I mean never, been more embarrassed by an employee's conduct. Her voice remained perfectly modulated, but the fury underneath was molten steel, barely contained by professional courtesy. You didn't simply discriminate against a random passenger tonight. You discriminated against my daughter, your chief operating officer, the woman who helped design our current operational protocols and who sits on our executive board. Victoria's voice grew colder with each revelation. You broadcast your prejudice to thousands of people. You cost this company its reputation. You humiliated my family. And worst of all, you did it with such casual cruelty that it's clear this wasn't errant behavior. This was Tuesday evening for you. Brenda's desperate defense. Brenda finally found her voice, though it came out as a desperate whisper. Mrs. Carter, please. I didn't know who she was. The system didn't flag her as executive staff. She was dressed so casually, and we have security protocols for suspicious passengers. So, Victoria's single word cut through Brenda's excuses like a blade through silk. Just stop talking before you make this worse for yourself. She turned to address the crowd, ensuring her words carried to every phone camera and live stream viewer. What you're hearing is exactly the problem. Ms. Collins assumed my daughter was suspicious because she saw a young black woman in comfortable clothes and decided she couldn't possibly belong in first class. Victoria's media training showed in every gesture, every perfectly modulated phrase designed for maximum impact across social platforms. She never properly verified Ella's credentials. She never followed standard passenger assistance protocols. She made assumptions based purely on racial bias and then doubled down when challenged. The immediate corporate response. Victoria turned back to her security team with military precision. Ms. Collins, your employment with Skylark Air is terminated immediately, effective this moment. Please surrender your badge, access cards, and any company property in your possession. Brenda's legs nearly buckled. 15 years of employment, pension contributions, health benefits, all evaporating in the harsh fluorescent light of Terminal 3. You can't do this, Brenda stammered. I have seniority rights, union protection, my pension. You forfeited those considerations, Victoria replied without a trace of emotion. When you chose discrimination over dignity, when you chose humiliation over hospitality, when you chose to represent my company's values with such spectacular failure that it required CEO intervention, Victoria's legal advisors stepped forward with prepared documentation. Ms. Collins, termination for cause eliminates severance pay and impacts pension vesting. You'll receive information about Cobra Health coverage continuation, but company contributions end today. Ella's leadership emergence. Ella stepped forward and Victoria yielded the spotlight to her daughter with visible pride. This wasn't rescue. This was empowerment. This was a masterclass in family business succession. Ms. Collins, Ella said, her voice now carrying the full authority of her executive position. While your actions tonight were personally hurtful, they've also provided valuable insight into systematic problems within our customer service structure. She addressed the crowd and cameras with the confidence of someone born for leadership. This incident will serve as a catalyst for comprehensive organizational change throughout Skylark Air operations. Ella's transformation was complete. Gone was any trace of the humiliated young woman from 30 minutes ago. In her place stood a corporate executive who'd turned personal attack into company-wide reform opportunity. The systematic changes announced Victoria and Ella worked in perfect tandem, demonstrating the family business partnership that had built their airline empire from regional carrier to industry giant. Effective Monday morning, Victoria announced to the crowd and cameras, Skylark Air is allocating $15 million for comprehensive bias prevention initiatives across all domestic and international operations. The numbers sent ripples through the crowd. This wasn't corporate damage control. This was systematic transformation with real financial commitment. Ella continued seamlessly, her voice projecting executive confidence. Every customer-facing employee, from gate agents to flight attendants to ground crews, will complete mandatory bias recognition and prevention certification within 60 days. We are installing AI-powered interaction monitoring systems at every gate, Victoria added, to identify problematic behavior patterns before they escalate to discrimination incidents. Monthly audits by independent civil rights organizations, Ella concluded, will ensure compliance and provide transparency to our passengers and shareholders, the personal stakes revealed. Victoria's voice softened slightly as she looked at Ella, allowing maternal pride to show through her CEO armor. This isn't just business policy revision. This is deeply personal. She turned back to the crowd and cameras. My daughter earned her chief operating officer position through merit, not family connections. MBA from Wharton at 21. 5 years of operational experience, starting in baggage handling and working up through every department. The respect of our board of directors based on performance metrics, not birthright. Ella nodded, adding with quiet strength. What happened to me tonight happens to countless passengers who don't have corporate credentials to protect them, who don't have CEO mothers to call for backup. That's why these systematic changes matter far beyond my personal experience. The live stream cultural impact. Sophie's Facebook Live had exploded into a cultural phenomenon. Viewer count 691 and climbing exponentially as shares multiplied across platforms. Major news outlets were already running breaking news segments. CEO Mom # Pinnacle Accountability and #Airport Justice was trending worldwide. Comments flooded in from 6 continents. This is how you handle corporate discrimination. Family business goals achieved. Other airlines scrambling to review policies. Victoria Carter should run for president. Ella Carter is the future of business leadership. The industry ripple effect. Victoria's phone buzzed constantly with calls from competitors, board members, shareholders, and international news organizations. She glanced at caller ID CEOs from Delta, American, and United requesting emergency conference calls to discuss industry-wide discrimination policy reviews. The aviation industry is watching this live stream, Victoria told the crowd with strategic awareness. What Skylark Airlines does in response to tonight's incident will establish new standards for customer service accountability across all major carriers. Her words weren't just corporate speak. They were a declaration of industry leadership through crisis transformation. Brenda's final humiliation. As corporate security prepared Brenda's escort from the premises, Victoria delivered one final message with surgical precision. Ms. Collins, you'll receive comprehensive information about bias prevention training programs available in our industry. Completion will be required for any future aviation employment. Ella added quietly but audibly. There will also be a public apology video required, not to us personally but to every passenger who has ever been made to feel unwelcome in an airport because of how they look. The gate area buzzed with electric energy as passengers processed what they'd witnessed. Not just a discrimination incident and corporate response, but a masterclass in leadership, family unity, and systematic change implementation. Victoria put her arm around Ella's shoulders. And for just one moment, they weren't CEO and CEO. They were simply mother and daughter standing together against injustice with the full weight of corporate power backing their moral authority. Now, Victoria said, checking her own expensive Cartier watch. I believe we both have flights to catch and a company to reform. 3 hours later, Skylark Air Corporate Communications Center. While Ella and Victoria flew toward Los Angeles, their corporate machine had already shifted into crisis management overdrive. The live stream footage was being analyzed by legal teams. The discrimination incident was trending on every major platform and competitors were scrambling to audit their own customer service protocols. By midnight Pacific time, Skylark Air had released a comprehensive public statement that would reshape industry standards overnight. Brenda's immediate consequences. Brenda Collins sat in her Honda Civic in JFK's employee parking garage, staring at her phone screen in disbelief. Her Skylark Air email account had been deactivated. Her security badge no longer worked. 15 years of employment had evaporated in 30 minutes. The termination paperwork delivered by corporate courier to her Queens apartment laid out the full scope of her professional destruction. Immediate termination for cause forfeit of accumulated vacation pay $400. Pension vesting suspended pending legal review. Health insurance terminated at month's end, permanent notation in personnel file. Terminated for discriminatory conduct. Banned from all Skylark Air properties worldwide. Required completion of 40-hour bias prevention certification for any future aviation industry employment. But the personal humiliation was just beginning. The viral reckoning. Sophie's live stream has been shared 47,000 times across Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Brenda's face was now permanently associated with airport discrimination. Her name had become a hashtag. Brenda Collins' pinnacle was trending with thousands of comments dissecting every moment of her behavior. Local news stations had picked up the story. The New York Post ran the headline, "Gate Shame. Airport Brenda humiliates airline CEO's daughter." The Daily News went with, "Karma at 30,000-foot racist gate."